But anyway, Daniel chapter 5, if y'all will stand this morning as we read. We're going to be in verses 1 through 6, and then we're going to skip over and read verses 25 through 30. Everybody there say amen? Amen. Amen. Let's read. Belshazzar, the king, of a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God which was in Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass and of wood and stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against the other. Now flip over to verse 25. And this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Peres, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we love you. Lord, we just thank you for all that you've done for us. Lord, we thank you for the worship and the singing this morning. Lord, I just ask you, pray that you be with us, Lord. Lord, that you just speak to us this morning like you spoke to them that day. Lord, that you move in a mighty way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. The name of the sermon this morning is The Writing on the Wall. Now what you'll find right here in Daniel chapter 5 is Belshazzar is son of King Nebuchadnezzar. They were the kings of the great city Babylon, in the empire of Babylon. And right here in this city, God had told the prophets in Jeremiah and other prophets that Israel will be conquered because of their wickedness and because they're not following God. And Nebuchadnezzar rose up and he comes over to the strongest empire in the world. And it took him a couple of years, but he finally destroyed Israel and conquers Israel. And he moves all the people of Israel, including Daniel and many others, back to Babylon. But what he did was he destroyed the temple that had been built by Solomon, King Solomon. And he took all the goods out of the temple back to Babylon. But there's one item I want to throw out there that was not taken back to Babylon, or we don't know what happened to it. That was the Ark of the Covenant. Many people believe that Nebuchadnezzar destroyed it. Some believe that it was taken down to Ethiopia. Jeremiah tells us that in the last days that the Ark of the Covenant will not be talked about, mentioned, or even seen. And what I believe is God got rid of the Ark of the Covenant so that people today wouldn't still be worshiping it like it was God. But all those items out of that temple, King Nebuchadnezzar took back to Babylon. And right here, as they're in the city, Nebuchadnezzar has died. And one thing that you'll notice about Nebuchadnezzar, he was a very prideful king. He was a very excited king. Like, he had no worries about nothing. And God humbled King Nebuchadnezzar. God took King Nebuchadnezzar and made him like an animal for about 7 years. He ate the grass. And God humbled him. And it even says right there at the end of chapter 4, verse 37, that Nebuchadnezzar speaking here. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. Even King Nebuchadnezzar said, the God of heaven true God can humble even the proud. King Nebuchadnezzar had been brought down to his knees by God. And see what you'll find here in Daniel chapter 1 through 6 is Daniel trying to teach and talk to these men of Babylon and now Persia. And then the last half of the book of Daniel, 7 through 12, Daniel prophesies. And that goes right along with the book of Revelation. Daniel has as many prophecies about the end times as the book of Revelation. As a matter of fact, to understand the book of Revelation, you need to understand Daniel chapter 7 through 12. But right here where we're picking up, Daniel was one of Nebuchadnezzar's right-hand men after Daniel proved himself to Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar has died. And his son, Belshazzar, is sitting here and he's the king. And he's very prideful. And he thinks he is just above head and shoulders everybody else. That he can't be touched. He's invincible. Because you see, Babylon was this great city that had this monster wall all the way around it. And the river Euphrates flowed right through the middle of the city. So they had all the water they could need. They had food, it is believed, to store up to 20 years worth of food there. It was a great, beautiful city. The gardens, the hanging gardens were there. That's one of the 7 wonders of the world. And he's thinking, he's all prideful. Like, you can't touch me. You can't mess with me. And now I think I'm going to throw me a party. I think I'm going to have me a good time. And so what does he do? He calls up anybody and everybody in the city. And he starts throwing this party. It's a great feast. And one thing that you see right here, he took the items that his father, King Nebuchadnezzar, had taken from the temple. And he takes them and they're drinking out of them. Drinking wine out of them. The holy items from the temple, they are drinking out of them. Pride has really set in. And right here, as we pick up right here in verse 6, and then all of a sudden, there was a writing on the wall that scared him to death. Y'all, I want y'all to know something this morning. A lot of times when I get ready to preach, I want to make it exciting and I want to make it catchy and I want y'all to be able to just have points of it just like, wow. But this morning, I don't feel like it's going to be like that. This morning, God was telling me to preach this. Sometimes I don't know why I'm supposed to preach the things I'm supposed to preach. Sometimes I wrestle with God like, God, what is your message right here? What are you trying to tell us right here? Why are you telling me to preach this? There's so many other stories, more exciting stories, more catchy stories, more stories that would be fun to preach. And then there's stories that I don't want to preach. And this morning, this is one of those stories where you're going to walk out of here and you're going, he's kind of boring this morning. I mean, you might leave like that. You might feel like that when I get done. But I want you to understand something this morning. I believe one of the reasons why God has given me this and given me this now is because this is the last Sunday before school, let's say. And statistically, churches' attendance drop off big time in the summer. And I want to warn you about something that happens a lot to people. When you get out of church, whether it be for a week, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, it gets hard to get back into church. It gets way harder to get into church than it ever was to get out of church. Once you leave church, guess what happens in today's world? You get busy. Imagine that. You know, isn't it funny how we buy all these items that are supposed to be time-saving and we have less time than ever? We're always in a mad rush in everything we do. But see, when we get out of church, and you know, it even happened to me one time. Me and Amy, when our church had split, that I've told you about many times, we got out of church right there for a little while. And we got to a point where we went about a month or two straight without ever going to church. And I felt like something is terribly wrong here. I've never in my life done that. Never. And I'm going to tell you something. It was hard. Even from somebody that was born and raised in church. 9 months before I was born, I was in church. Amen? But it was hard for me to get back into church. And you see, the summer is coming. Good times are coming. The kids are going to be out of school, vacation. And people are going to want to go spend these beautiful weekends and go to rides and go out and do things. Go fish and do things. And that's all fine and great. But the handwriting on the wall is telling us God is still in control. Amen. God still has plans and purposes for your life.
Yes, sir.
And don't let this world and don't let this summer overtake you. Don't let your life come August and September be like, man, where have I been all summer? I hadn't been to church. I hadn't been serving God. You know, I said a few minutes ago, I thank the Lord for those young men. I'm talking about 18, 19-year-old men, young men, spending their whole summer when they could be out having fun with their friends and their buddies, spending their whole summer serving God. They are doing a great thing in their life, and I thank the Lord for them. I thank the Lord for their mamas and daddies that raised them to know their priorities. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something this morning. We get prideful sometimes. We get those tax returns, and we get a little extra money in our pocket. And all of a sudden, we want to have a good time. And we forget about the one that has blessed us with that money and those things. You know, we live in a world today of social media. Amy this week posted some pictures of me on Facebook. Oh, yeah, I saw them. Looking like Rambo and Karate Kid, as some of y'all were saying. With my bird chest hanging out there. I know. But all those pictures of me as a young child. And all of a sudden there's all these comments about me, you know. And then you see all these, some likes and some laughs and some, all these other comments. Well, we live in a world today, a lot of times, where our pictures and our faces are posted all over social media. Or some of us even will put videos on YouTube, and we constantly go on there to see how many views we've got, how many likes we've got, what the comments about it are. Amen? Hey, I'm guilty. I'm going to be honest with you. I've got on there to see how many times y'all watched them sermons after I got done. I can't even lie. I'm guilty too. Hey. But we live in a world today that is driven by opinions. We want to know what people think about us. We want to know what people have to say about us. And we're driven by it. We post things, it's funny that we will never post an ugly picture of ourselves, will we? We'll never post a picture of ourselves that make us look a little chunky, you know what I mean? We got to get that right angle where we're looking good, Yeah. Matter of fact, Amy, her picture right now, her profile picture is me and her right after, I can't remember what the holiday was. I'm standing in my jackets like this, so I look like I'm 400 pounds. I'm like, Amy, couldn't you have picked a better looking picture? But we are driven by what people say about us. And sometimes, a lot of times, that can be a terrible thing.
Yes, sir.
People are mean. People are cruel. And people will say things to you and about you that will drive you and will change your thought process and the way you live your life and the way you do things in your life. Because every time you get ready to do something, every time you get ready to wear something, every time you get ready to go anywhere or do anything, you're wondering, what are people going to think about me today? What are people going to say about me today? And it drives us crazy. And one thing I found, especially in the construction world, and I thank the Lord for the construction world. I hated it then, but I thank the Lord for it now. get to a point in your life where you're like, I don't care what they think about me. You know what I mean? I could care unless you're going to feed me and clothe me and pay my bills. Shut your mouth. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about it. But I want y'all to know something this morning. God is writing something about you. God is watching your every single move. God is writing it down and checking it off as He goes. Let me give you all these verses right here. It says, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 14, and I've said it many times. For God shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. God is writing down everything about you. God is keeping in His video player, heavenly video player, the big eye don't lie. Y'all ever heard that saying? When the camera's on you, you can say, oh, I didn't do that. And they break out that video camera. Oh, yes, you did. How many of y'all ever run through one of them red lights and they caught you on the camera? Yeah, I see. I didn't run that red light. Oh, yes, you did. Well, guess what? The big eye in the sky don't lie either. And He's writing it down day at a time. And you know one thing I noticed? We was at a race not long ago, and they were charging like $57, and that was the minimum cost to get in this race. And you look around, and they're just people. They were like ants. And I'm like, man, I wish I was the one collecting that $57 with all these people. And then I flew in an airplane going to Guatemala for, and you get up, and you're so high where you can still see everybody. And all of a sudden you see all these people and all these cars and all these, there are people like ants everywhere. And then one thing I noticed was, when you get to checking in the world today, they say there are 7 billion people in the world. That's a lot of folks. 7 billion of us. And yet, you want to know something? They live under bridges, they live in the jungles, they live in huts, and they live all the way to castles and White Houses. And God knows every matter of fact, the Bible says God knows them by their hair on their head. You would think God wouldn't care how many hairs are on your head. When there's 7 billion people, you'd think there was that too much to worry about, right? Than to worry about the hair on your head. But guess what? It's God. He can do that. Amen? And let me tell you something. Don't think if He ain't so worried about how many hairs are on your head, He ain't worried about where you're at, what you're doing, and what you're doing it with. Who you're doing it with. He's writing it down. The Bible tells us in the book of Revelation, as we stand before God, the books were opened, and another book was opened. And you know what I believe those books were? Yeah, there's the Lamb's Book of Life. And I hope and pray every single one of y'all are in it, because that means you're a child of God. Yeah. But if you're not in that book, I hope before we leave today, you will make that right. But I believe those other books, this book was the life that you live, whether you help people or not. This book was your book of secrets, what you thought nobody saw. This book was the book of how you could have had, but you chose not to be what you could. And I believe God is going to take those books one book at a time, and He's going to judge each and every one of us. And He's going to remember every little thing we do. And my question to you this morning is, what is God writing about you? What is the handwriting on the wall saying about every one of you? What has God written down in those books when you stand before God at the great judgment, at the Bema Seat judgment, and He's getting ready to hand you your rewards? And He says, let me just show you why you're only getting this much when you get in that eternity. What is God writing about you this morning? Number 2, we have to be the Daniels of this day. You know, isn't it funny how here, if you look right there in verse 8, chapter 5, King Belshazzar was scared to death. Said his knees were knocking together. He went from drunken and partying to scared. His body, his face turned pale. His knees were knocking, it says in verse 6. He was scared to death. And he said he called all the great people in Babylon there, the sorcerers and the truthsayers and all the brilliant people, the astrologers, and said, read this writing. And they could not read. It says right there in verse 8, they all came, the king's wise men, but none could read the writing. You know why they couldn't read the writing? Because they didn't know who the author was. They didn't know who was writing it. But you know, when you get all the way over there to the end of it, Daniel could read it. Why? Because it was his father's writing. You see, the people of this world today don't understand what's in this book. Because they are not of Christ. They haven't accepted Christ. They are still of the world. And what did Jesus say? I am not of the world. And when you accept Jesus Christ, you're not supposed to be of the world. Isn't it funny right here how the king said he called all the people that were somebody in Babylon to come to this party? But guess who wasn't there? Daniel. Daniel wasn't there. Why? Because Daniel knew better. He knew he didn't belong there. Let me tell you something. If you're a child of God, you don't belong in bars. You don't belong in pool halls. You don't belong in clubs. You don't belong. Don't go there. Let me tell you something. My mom and daddy told me, and it was the truth. After 10, 11 o'clock at night, they ain't no good anymore out there in that world. Go home and go to bed. Amen? Amen. There ain't nothing good happens at midnight. I promise you. You want to go to jail? That'll happen to you. You'll find trouble you wasn't looking for at midnight. And when you're in places that you shouldn't be, there ain't nothing good going to come out of it. And Daniel knew, even though, I'm going to tell you something, Daniel was high ranking here in Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar had done set Daniel up. He was like the first prime minister of Babylon. And all the people that were somebody were there. But Daniel wasn't there. Daniel was away from the troubles of this world. And that's where we should be. This summer when we go to the beaches and when we go on the cruises and wherever we go, don't go in places that you know you ain't got no business doing. But also right here, the queen says, Belshazzar, get up! Quit acting like you're the king. Quit acting like this. What is wrong with you? I'll tell you what. There was a man when your daddy was the king. His name is Daniel. And every time your daddy ran into this, that man could tell him the problem was. And that's when Belshazzar goes and gets Daniel. And sure enough, when Daniel gets in there, Daniel says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll interpret it for you. And Belshazzar says, well, I'll tell you what. If you'll interpret this, he says right there in verse 16, if you'll interpret this, I'll give you this big old gold chain. I'll put you the third highest ranking guy in the whole kingdom. I'll give you all this scarlet robe. I'll make you look good. Daniel said, you can keep all this stuff. You can keep it all. Now, I'm going to tell you what, I might have took the gold chain, but I'll let him have the rest. Amen. But Daniel wasn't in it for the money. Daniel didn't need that stuff. Daniel said, I don't want your stuff. I don't need your stuff. And matter of fact, I tell you what, big boy. He said, I'll tell you what your problem is. Now see this right here. My nanny, when she got about 70 years old, she used to do this all the time. She'd tell them, she'd say, I'm 70 years old. I say whatever I want to say. I've deserved it. I've earned that right. I hope I can get to that point one day. I ain't quite there yet, but that's what Daniel does. Daniel walks in there and he says, I tell you what, I'll read this writing. But before I read this writing, let me just tell you. You're in this situation because you're pride. You're in this situation because you think you're somebody. You're in this situation even though you saw how God humbled your father. And now here you are doing this. That's why you're in this situation. You are being judged by God just like your father. And you ought to know that. That's what he said to him right there in verse 22. Thou knewest all these things, Belshazzar, and you're doing them anyway. You know the thing about Belshazzar? He had a lot of faith. It even said over there, he believed in the God of wood and hay and all the other gods. He believed all the things that these gods. He had a lot of faith. But guess what? He put his faith in the wrong things. You know, we do that today. We don't really mean to, but we do it all the time. A couple of years ago, I was playing basketball. It was church league basketball. And I got ready to buy me some new basketball shoes. So guess what I went and did? I went and bought some Kevin Durant basketball shoes. And if y'all don't know that he's like one of the best players in the NBA. And I'm like, yeah, I got these shoes and I'll be good. He ain't made me no better. But my mentality was, I got these shoes on. He's a great player. I can do what he can do. Amen? No, I can't. I still couldn't touch a net when I jump, you know? Them shoes didn't make me jump no higher, run no faster, nothing else. But we will buy things because he wears them. You know, Michael Jordan. I remember when Michael Jordan was in his day. And even today, those kids would spend hundreds, or their mom and dad would spend hundreds of dollars on these Michael Jordan shoes so they could be like MJ. But guess what? He pulls his pants up just like me and you. One leg at a time. When he goes to the bathroom, it stinks too. He's a human just like the rest of us. But we idolize these people like they're just wonderful, like they're just great. And we spend hundreds of dollars on them, thinking that they're just all wonderful. You know what I've already done? Y'all know I love golf. I've already been looking to see what Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods and Dustin, all these golfers are hitting, what kind of clubs they got. Because they're hitting, that's what I got to have, you know. Thinking, I got to, you know, we idolize these people. I was at the gym the other day working out, and there was a girl, they were riding a bike, and she was watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And I'm just thinking to myself, really? And you know, one day somebody had made a comment like, one day we'll look back and we'll wonder why we were keeping up with the Kardashians. What have they ever done besides create drama? But we idolize these people. Just like Belshazzar was idolizing these false gods. And we do it without even realizing we do it. And guess what? It leaves us hollow. It never fulfills us. The people of this world today are spending millions of dollars idolizing people and people's possessions and what people do every single day. Reality TV makes us sit there and watch. I gotta be like them. Duck Dynasty. I love that show. But you know what happened? I started watching it. I started talking like them. I started, you know, I did. I ain't got to talk. I don't do that kind of thing. But you do it without even realizing it. In a world today when reality TV, you think to yourself, well, I can be like that. Thanks to reality TV. And we put these gods We idolize all these things all the time. And guess what? All those rich and famous people are miserable. They're not happy. They can't even walk around to store without millions of cameras watching their every move. They would give anything to be in your shoes. They would give anything to be like you, to where you can go to the grocery store and come home and enjoy dinner with your family and not worry about somebody trying to peek through the window and watch your every move. You know, I thank the Lord cameras wasn't all over me in my teens and 20s years.
Yes, sir.
I'd never qualify to be a preacher. And I don't anyway. None of us do. None of us do. If the world watched your every move, you would never qualify to do anything. You better thank the Lord you don't live in a day where live back then when cameras was on everybody's hip. And every stupid thing you did, they recorded and put all over for the world to see. But these people today, they're living their lives and they're idolizing these false gods. They think if I just build up my bank account and I build up my retirement, I'll die a happy life. I'll be able to do whatever I want to do in my old age. And guess what? Belshazzar was sitting there thinking, I got food for the next 20 years. I got everything I need. Can't nobody touch me. I'm invincible. And that night, the Medes and the Persians come in and destroy them. That night, within that same day, your lives can be destroyed. And it is our jobs to be the interpreters for this world right now, to a lost and dying world, that God is going to judge this world real soon. And it is our jobs to go out and teach and preach the gospel of Christ. You know, I can't go where you go to work tomorrow and preach to everybody you're working with. I can't go to all your family get-togethers and talk to all your family members about Christ. That's your job. Your job is to take this gospel. I know you may not preach it in front of a congregation, but you can preach it to your co-workers and to your family. You can be the Daniel of your life. You can show those people when they get ready to go out to the bar at lunch or wherever they go, no, I can't do that. I can't go there. You can give them the truth when the world is telling them a lie. You can interpret the handwriting on the wall. And then you will give them something that will fulfill them for the rest of their lives. You will help them more that way than any money or anything else you could ever do for them. The Bible tells us right here, and then closing, in verse 27, take them. Thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Daniel is telling Belshazzar, you are wanting because you're worshiping false gods. You are wanting because these gods will never fulfill your needs. And now God is weighing you in His balances. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you today, we're one day closer to Jesus coming back. We're one day closer to the end. And I'm going to tell you something, when the way the world's going, when the way things are going, it can happen right now. We may not even make it to altar call. But don't think summertime's here, we can party and have a good time and it's going to be okay. God is writing down everything about you. You need to remember each and every day. And then you also need to be the witness to your co-workers. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Do you know without a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is your Lord and Savior? Do you know without a shadow of a doubt that if today was your last day on earth, heaven would be your home, or that you would burn in an eternal fire forever. And if you're just not sure today, I want you to pray a prayer with me in your heart. You've got to believe this with all your heart. Lord, I realize I am a sinner. Lord, I know you came to this earth and you died on that cross to forgive me of my sins. And Lord, I pray that you would come into my heart and save my soul. And nobody looking around but me, if you prayed that prayer this morning, would you lift your hand? Anybody anywhere? Amen. Y'all, the end is closed. The handwriting is on the wall. God is going to judge this world real soon. Are you ready? Are you listening to God? Are you being the Daniel of your work, of your family, of your home? Are you letting them know God loves you, but He will not put up with this? We have a job to do. And it gets hard sometimes, and it gets tough sometimes, but it don't change the fact we have a job to do. So I challenge each and every one of y'all. Give your heart to God. Be the Daniels of your family. Everybody stand in this altar.